understood what you meant by this. You know, it's one thing to lock and load. That means your weapon is ready for battery. You know, usually when you're walking in formation or whatever, you know, your selector, your thumb is on the selector, your finger's off the side of the trigger housing. But that's not where these guys are at, Greg. You need to explain. I don't think people understand what that means. Would you explain to them one more time, because this is critical. This isn't what do they need to look for. Everything they need to look for is already here.
That is correct, Steve. Look, if this were an honest court, there is more than enough evidence to convict the assailant here on evidence that a crime has been committed. And we are absolutely drowning in evidence on a daily basis on statements, on plans, on agendas, on leaked troop movements, on all the rest of it. I would just ask through the back door here, and that's how we investigated crimes. If we couldn't figure it out going in the front door, we went through the back door and tried to figure out what made it happen. What do you think is happening, folks? What do you think is bringing all this about? Why do you think that training has been amped up and ramped up beyond any other record levels? Why do you think that we have what's going on in this country, the statements that are being made by government, the actions that have been taken already by government, the people that are being arrested simply for speech, others who are ignored for speech, and the perverts, the people that live on the soul and the needs of other people who are running this nation? What do you think we have become? It is right here. We can't get any closer to it without being locked in a box with it. And so if you just simply are in denial because that's your comfort zone and you can't deal with it any other way, well then God help you, and I hope that somehow you survive. I hope somebody in your life takes mercy on you and hides you in the basement so you can make it to another day. But if you don't pick up this mantle that's been handed to us, patriots and constitutionalists, if you want to call yourselves that, but certainly Christians first and foremost. I see a lot of patriots and constitutionalists doing a lot of talking, but I don't see them doing anything to help the situation, Steve. That's why we're going downhill. But the fact is that what you must do right now is take the advice of Doug and Joe and Steve Quayle and do what they have admonished you to do for generations here and get it done before there's no time left at all.
All right. I got a question for you guys from one of our listeners, and they wanted to know, you were talking about getting together, get like-minded people getting together, and they were wondering how would we go about doing this at a local level where we could get people together? Do you suggest?
Now, look, Joe. Look. I hate to interrupt you, but this is what I'm talking about. If we and I don't mean to offend these folks because I know they're listening and they want good answers, and so I'm going to give you one. But I have to tell you, if you're that far behind the eight ball that you have to ask that question because you obviously haven't been thinking about it or you haven't been planning for it, then let me try and walk you through this. You need to identify within your social group those people that have been talking about how bad things are and what they've heard and that they're concerned and that they really don't know if they've got what they need. That's a common starting point, what they have to need to get through life and do it at a time of crisis. Then you need to try, and if you are going to a Bible-believing church and a preaching church where we know that the truth is getting out, then you can network fairly easily with people within that group, but be careful, be selective. Talk to your family, but be careful because those folks, just like I have in my own family, I have relatives very close to me that would rather be out on the golf course than they would be sitting down to a course of instruction of how to survive what is coming our way. What do I say anymore to those people that I love dearly, and that I've found myself going, what more can I say? You must identify that group by those that are around you and that you know the best, because even the best ones you know can fail, will sell you out because they're scared, or they've been promised something because they know that you're a leader. So please try and identify those folks. Don't go online because you'll just get burned to the ground. Don't be threatening. Don't be making stupid statements that people are going to take you to court over, or they'll arrest you and you disappear because they think you're a true threat, just like Ted Nugent and other people I know Ted Nugent. He's not a bad guy. But he made a statement. Look, be very careful and plan it. Get your first 5, your nucleus, your A team. Get those together first, and then expand it from there.
And I gotta share. I want to add something there. I have just gone through a recent situation where someone I knew for 20 years, I never met him personally, but thought he was a friend. Basically, I'll never speak to the guy again because it's not a question of unforgiveness. If they've double-crossed you in the beginning, they'll double-cross you in the end. If they didn't have the relationship with the Lord in the beginning, they won't have it in the end. Now, unless the Lord overrides that, I got to tell you, Greg, that's never failed me. But when I have tried to go back on that, I have paid dearly.
Well,
would you
Steve,
agree with that?
The situation you're talking about, and I agree with you. It's a very difficult thing. You just shake your head and it breaks your heart. But I don't think you can do anything other than what you've done.
Well, so you have to break fellowship. Now, Doug, here's the deal, and Joe, you guys obviously work together when you're out in the field, okay? So you know you can trust each other. But when I ask this to most people, look, I'm one of the guys. It's not a bragging statement. It's history and the truth. I started the preparedness movement mail order catalog almost 35 years ago, I think, when there were only 4 guys in the country doing it. Nitro Pack, Survival Inc., Bill Pierce, and one other guy, Bill Pierre, I'm sorry. I mean, there was only 4 of us. I remember when American Survival Guide, some people still remember, when I had my British Ferrets being sold, that's an armored personnel carrier, 4 tires, on the back of American Survival Guide. So, and I used to write articles for them, and I used to run ads in them. So I'm pretty familiar with the prep movement, but I got to tell you this. I mean, most of the people I trust, fortunately I've met Greg, the guys I trust, they've proven themselves. They've stepped up. I have a friend, and he and his wife have become like my brother and sister in Jesus. I've got a friend, Cornelius II. I know that guy will stand with me, and if he has to, go down, he'll go down. But he also knows that he believes in the power of God, that God will keep him safe. And because of his generosity, because of his boldness, I mean, I just sent him an email, Greg, that says life starts at 175 miles per hour. I know that's not what the Highway Patrol likes to see, but what I'm saying is I always love to walk with people who are all out for Jesus. And if they can't even tell you that Jesus' name is Jesus, and they go to church and they'll use Christ is a title. That's not his name. It's at the name of Jesus every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, And that's the thing that's so, the casual lack of intimacy with the living God is absolutely maddening to me, okay? Because why, when God's given us so much, so many amazing promises, so much deliverance in our own life, so much protection in our own life, given us the food that's on our plate, the wonderful beds we sleep in, everything that we get, why do we forget the Lord? And then we won't stand up for him as a body. We'll sit and devour each other. And ladies and gentlemen, when you understand PSYOPs, psychological operations, these guys have got it down to a science. They know if someone's angry at me for one thing, they'll go out and invent 3 other people who claim they work for me. Greg, I got people who are critics that never even work for me claiming they work for me. I know who work for me. The bottom line is this, is that you've got to have the nature. Here's another thing. Anybody who's been kicked out of a church for standing for the truth, chances are that's a good place to start, okay, if they've been kicked out. And I'm not talking about rebellion because they have 3 wives and 4 mistresses. I'm talking about legitimate trying to stand for the truth. The number one cry in the people of God's heart around the world is, Lord, who can I stand with? And ultimately, at the end of the day, you guys, I'll tell you what, his name is Jesus, and if you'll pray and ask the Lord, the Lord gave me this. It's his word from heaven. It's as true as now as it would be through all eternity. If you will look to me, Jesus speaking, I will give you better friends than you choose for yourself. If you try and choose your friends after what you think sounds good or looks good, I've been down that road. I've been betrayed so many times that you'd think I'd quit beating my head on the same brick wall. Finally got smart and said, Lord, I will not allow anyone access into my life until you bring them, until you tell me it's okay. Because, Greg, these are, this is the basis of all teamwork, whether it's an A team or whatever team you're putting together. There has to be trust, and you have to know that that person next to you is willing to go the line for you. And that's what I'm saying to American law enforcement tonight. Gentlemen, the man that told me about the red list, the blue list, and the green list gave his life. He was the head of the Environmental Protection Agency for the entire western United States a number of years ago. And he told me what you're now hearing, and he told me it cost him his life. So was he fooling around? I don't think so. He told me, he said, Steve, when law enforcement and the military is used up, they're on the blue list. They get whacked by the pre-assigned assassins that will be put into the departments as observers. And thank God there are men who will not allow, any observers. And two of them are two officers, Greg, that you love. They're two really good friends of mine, and they just said no. And because they said no, they're now locked out of the loop. And I think that's what people need to understand. With a new selective communication system, if A, B, and C are bad cops and D is a good cop, A, B, and C will basically be given information. D will be locked out. D will call for backup, and A, B, and C will be given the word to take out D.
Well, that's absolutely right, Steve. I can absolutely confirm that. It's amazing you would say it in that order, because I have someone very close to me in law enforcement. I'm not going to give the city, obviously. I can't do that.
No, don't.
But it's in the Midwest, and this officer wrote to me a month or two ago and said, please tell me what to do here. I'm so confused. I don't get it. I'm on the SWAT team. I've done all the rest of this, and I'm being locked out. I'm being forced out because I won't tell them my allegiance to a certain group or to a certain fraternal organization that I refuse to join. I mean, it came down to those kinds of details. And look, I know, Steve, I can tell you there are officers in Clay Center, Kansas, and Olathe, Kansas, and out in Salina, Kansas, and down near Wichita. I can tell you that there are people in that area, ranchers and law enforcement folks, that know exactly what's going on and have told me flat out they will not be involved in this kind of stuff. They will not turn in their neighbors. They will not go round up these people, but they're so far in the minority, I mean. And so as a result of that, we're still back at square one. How do we resist? I hope it never comes to that. I hope that we don't have to, but I'm telling you, I'm standing right here facing it, saying it's going to occur.
All right, we're kind of in the lightning round. We've got about 16 minutes left of the show. Lightning round here. Greg, Oath Keepers, good, solid organization, or infiltrated. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I think they're as solid as they can be. That's not to say there aren't a few in there. Of course, there most likely are. But I think the heart and soul of that organization and its founder are good folks.
Election, Steve, and either one of you, the election of 2012. Is this going to happen? And if it does, let's just start there. Do you feel that we're going to have an election this year?
I would say, personally, I don't believe so, and I don't think so because as Obama loses his strength and support, and by the way, they've outed 10 chief naval officers in the last several months, that there's a purge going on. I think that they will use the Middle East crisis to suspend the election if he feels he's going to lose.
Okay.
Look, Doug, I have to say this. That issue down in Colombia with the Secret Service, that was also a purge.
That was my next issue. I've got information about that, conflicting stories, but one story in particular rings rather true, that there were fists flying down there, and there was an attempt by Obama to replace the people who were allied for, who were working for the office with people who were actually working for Obama. Is that sound true to you?
Look, I've talked to federal agents about this. There is no doubt in my mind that this was a purge, both of the military unit that goes to war on behalf of the president and the Secret Service detail itself. These guys were sitting around going, there's things here I don't agree with, blah, blah, blah. Somebody ratted them out, and they're gone. That's all it was, because they're hearing this stuff that they can't afford to have out.
Okay, one more thing, and this, I've not disclosed this to anyone. You're hearing this for the first time. I'm going to disclose it to Steve and to Greg and to everyone listening here. One thing I held back from my source, I have not said this before. My source has said that there is the very real possibility that at least one Supreme Court justice should not enter into small planes and should watch, what he does. Have you heard anything about this?
Well, yeah, there's a purge going on, and I just want to say there's a purge. That means that there are agents and there are military and there are politicians who are being systematically executed. The most in-your-face execution was Andrew Breitbart. Then,
Correct.
Doug, you and I worked the case years ago on, what's his name, O.C. Smith.
That's right.
And we won't to talk about that, but the point being is, and now you've got the coroner for Breitbart being poisoned. He's dead, and now you've got the eyewitness that was with Breitbart when he saw him turn bright red. The reason he turned bright red wasn't because he had a heart attack. He was hit with an EMF weapon.
That is correct.